Well, it was 1 week ago exactly that the Minnesota Timberwolves were feeling themselves after storming into Denver and eliminating the defending world champion Nuggets in an emotional Game 7 win. But oh, what a difference a week can make, as the Wolves now find themselves on the brink of elimination after dropping 3 consecutive games in the Western Conference Finals to the Dallas Mavericks to fall into an insurmountable 3-0 hole. Insurmountable in the sense no team in NBA history has ever come back from such a deficit, as teams who take the 3-0 lead stand currently at 154-0. And it came in a game where the Timberwolves finally got an Anthony Edwards sighting last night, as the 22-year-old freshly minted All-NBA second-team member entered the game averaging just 20 points on 33% from the field so far in his first career Western Conference Finals appearance. But he was fantastic last night, at least in the third quarter. And it came when his team needed it most, as the game and series seemed to be slipping away, when he infused them with the energy and belief needed with what might have possibly been the best dunk of the postseason to this point. And it would loosen up Edwards' jumper for the first time in what seemed like a long time. The third quarter flurry by Edwards took a game the Mavericks led by 10 in at the time, and all of a sudden was tied at the end of the third, 87-87, heading into the fourth quarter. And in what has been the story of this entire series, this was a highly winnable game. The Timberwolves led late in the fourth quarter in both of the first 2 games on their home court, and in this game it was tied 104-104 with 3:39 to go in the fourth. But as was the case in the first 2 games, last night the Wolves gagged all over themselves in the clutch, which again should come as absolutely no surprise to anyone, as their minus 13.1 net rating in clutch time during the regular season, defined as the last 5 minutes of a game within 5 points, was amongst the worst in the league. And it has dogged them all series long to this point. And what has been compounding the issue and accentuating just how dreadful and pathetic they are at the end of games is just how damn good the Mavericks and their 2 superstar closers have been in this series, as Luka Dončić and Kyrie Irving again were masterful last night in the fourth quarter, and for the entire game for that matter. Both had 33 points on the night, the third time now in these playoffs where both have scored at least 30 in the same game. And in Game 3 last night, they combined for 66 points on 22 of 40 from the field, 8 of 17 from 3, and 14 of 18 from the free throw line, with many of the shots being extreme on the degree of difficulty scale. And from the 3:39 mark of the fourth quarter, the Mavericks would hit the Wolves with a 12-1 run to seal the game. In fact, the Wolves didn't make a single shot in the last 5.5 minutes of the game until Anthony Edwards' pure garbage layup with 15 seconds remaining, down 11 at the time. And speaking of Edwards, following that incredible third quarter, scored just 2 points total until that garbage layup with 15 seconds left, down 11 in the fourth. Meanwhile, Edwards' all-star running mate, Karl Anthony Towns, had another night for the ages, dropping 14 points on 18 shot attempts. And for his last 5 games now, Cat is averaging 15.5 points per game on 35% shooting from the field and 4 of 32 from 3. 4 made 3-pointers in 32 attempts over 5 games. For those of you who aren't that quick at simple math, what are we talking about here?
What are we talking about?
12.5%. But it's not for a lack of trying though, because according to Towns, he is taking 1,500 shots a day.
I gotta laugh. I'm putting up to 1,500 shots a day.
And look, ultimately basketball isn't that difficult to understand. The Nuggets had the best player on the floor in Minnesota's last series against Nikola Jokic. Denver, though, didn't get very many other contributions throughout the course of that series from anybody else, whereas the Timberwolves had a plethora of big contributions up and down their roster. This series has taken on a very different feel though, as Luka Dončić has been the easy best player in it for 3 games now. And that isn't surprising at all, as he was not only named first-team All-NBA this season for the 5th consecutive year, but he was one of the 3 MVP finalists. The big story here, though, is that Kyrie Irving has easily been the second best player on the floor, as he has been getting the better of his matchup with Anthony Edwards all series long.
It's going to be fun, man. You know, my matchup going to be Kyrie, so that's going to be fun. We're going to see what I can do versus him.
Yeah, that hasn't been any fun at all, actually. Certainly not in the 4th, where Irving has been channeling his inner Mamba and averaging 10 points per game in the final quarter for this series. And in sports, there is never any such thing as a sure thing. But with now both conference finals series sitting at 3-0, you can't help but take a tiny little peek forward at the looming juggernaut prancing their way into the finals through the pathetic cupcake conference they will hail from, locking up with an unsuspecting 5 seed smelling suspiciously like, dare I say it, a team of destiny. You really can't help but draw the parallels back to the last time the Dallas Mavericks were in the finals 13 years ago. But first thing is first, as Luka and Kai told each other when the horn sounded last night, one more to go.